Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Namaste experience. That's exactly what it is, an experience of this moment, the only moment. It's okay. Let's just breathe into this moment for a moment. Moment for a moment. That moment, the word moment comes up a lot, doesn't it? Let's breathe into this holy, sacred instant of peace. And be grateful that we have been drawn together as we are each and every day, well, almost each and every single day, 6 days a week, to join. It is that sacred joining where the magic is. I've been told by groups in the past, well, what we're doing here is higher than anyone else on the planet, so we can't join with others. Oh, you're missing out. You're really missing out. Because the joining with that single intention of holiness, awakening, now, that's where it's at. So here we are doing just that. The lesson from A Course in Miracles says there is a peace that Christ bestows on us. The experience of Christ, or our Christhood, bestows upon us an experience of peace that is beyond this world. St. Paul called it the peace that surpasses understanding, that which can never be understood with the mind, but which you know. In the Teacher's Manual of A Course in Miracles, it says you will know that peace because it will be wholly unlike anything you've ever experienced before. There's no comparison with true peace. Or we could say the peace of God, or whatever words you want to use, you'll know it when you feel it. And that's our only goal, to know it. One of the ways that we can know that peace and that passion is by singing and chanting and devotion. So I said yesterday that we're going to be doing some devotional Bhakti Yoga chants this week. So we're going to start one now. The words are very simple. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Say that with me. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. We do that many times. And then the other part is, where else can I hide? For you are here by my side. Where else can I hide? For you are here by my side. There's nowhere left for me to roam as you welcome me to my home. There's nowhere left for me to roam as you welcome me to my home. Isn't that beautiful? So I'll sing it all the way through once, and I'll bring you in when the time is right. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Where else can I hide? For you are here by my side. There's nowhere left for is yours. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. There's nowhere left, no. Where else can I hide? Where else can I hide? For you are here by my side. For you are here by my side. There's nowhere left for me to roam. There's nowhere left for me to roam. As you welcome me to my home. As you welcome me to my home. Beautiful. Let's keep that going. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. 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 Where else can I hide? Where else can I hide? For you are here by my side. For you are here by my side. There's nowhere left for me to roam. There's nowhere left for me to roam. As you welcome me to my home. As you welcome me to my home. Okay, let's bring it up a little higher. Here we go. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. My heart is yours. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Give everything to this now. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Reach out with all your love. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Where else could I hide? For you are here by my side. There's nowhere left for me to roam. There's nowhere left for me to roam. As you welcome me to my home. As you welcome me to my home. Beloved, beloved, my heart is yours. Take a deep breath. Just welcome me. That sacred love. My heart is yours, beloved. There is a sacred sound that goes with and moves with that longing. A sacred sound that contains all truth, all reality, all love, all light. In fact, to illustrate that, I want to tell you a little story that I heard just yesterday that amazed me. Something I never knew. In fact, the person that told me I never knew this until I think yesterday or the day before. And my friend who told me this, her name is Tamara Morgan. She is the daughter of Judy Scutch Woodson. If you don't know who Judith is, Judith was one of the very first people that Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford shared A Course in Miracles with. And she got so excited that she said, I'm going to help bring this together. We'll get the money. We're going to publish this. So she became the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace until last year when she left her body. In fact, I love the story of how it happened because it was Judith and Jerry Jampolsky, and they went to a psychology conference in New York. They were both from California. And while they were there, they met these two people, Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford, two other wonderful, very intelligent psychologists. And I guess Helen and Bill felt very comfortable with, in particular, Judith, because Jerry went home a little bit early. Judith stayed because she really liked these two people. And Helen and Bill told her about A Course in Miracles, this book that for the last 7 years, she had been just listening and just scribing, and they didn't know what to do with it. Helen certainly didn't want her name to be associated with it because this is a very powerful academic, a tenured professor at one of the best rated universities in the country, maybe even the world, where they always tell you to go publish, but don't publish that. Jesus is talking to you? No, don't publish. You're a renowned psychologist. Anyway, but she felt comfortable enough to talk to Judith about this. And Judith was on fire when she began reading it, as many of you were when you first began reading A Course in Miracles. So she went back and she told her friend Jerry about this. And she said, Jerry, you have to read some of this. And Jerry said, Judith, you know that I'm an absolute atheist. I do not believe in God. And she tricked him by saying, okay, but just read one page. Just read one page. And if you don't feel it, if you don't have an experience from that one page, and I won't bother you with it again. He said, all right, fine. By the way, Jerry's the one who told me this story. And he began to read, and something started to move inside him. He began to feel something. His heart was opening. And he said, I began to go into this experience like nothing I've ever known before. Everything opened, the whole world opened. My heart opened, and I began to weep. That's how I knew. He had an experience. You notice how we say almost every morning, this is about the Namaste experience, not about information or intellectual understanding, but an experience. Jerry had that experience. So Jerry began to support Judith as they started the Foundation for Inner Peace, and they ultimately published the course and dozens of other translations. So now back to modern times. So Tam is in her apartment. She has COVID right now, so we send her some love. So she's in her apartment, and she's surrounded by stuff that many of us would just love to touch and to see. For example, she said, right next to me right now is Bill Thetford's typewriter, the typewriter that he used to type out the course and many other things. And apparently, if I have this story right, Tam, when she was a little girl, would interview these people, interview Helen and interview Bill, and she came across something that I don't know if she had ever heard it or if it was in those recordings, but it was a recording of Helen saying something extraordinary that I had never heard before, and she had never heard before. I don't think anyone has ever heard before. She said that when she was scribing this Course in Miracles, Most of us were told or heard that it was dictation. It came to her as a voice, and they called it the voice. And that she would just hear the voice, and then she would write down in shorthand what the voice was saying. But in this particular recording, that's not what she said at all. She said it came to her as a sound, a sound current or frequency that she sensed. And somehow, I'm not sure even she knew how she did this, but somehow she was able to decipher or to interpret the words that were contained within this holy sound that she would hear whenever she was quiet. It was the sound of that Christed energy. And for 7 years, she would listen to that sound, and then she would write out what she heard. How many of you have seen the movie Contact? Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, Tom Skerritt. I was actually just watching that a couple of nights ago, and it was very similar to that, because if you remember in that movie, Jodie Foster, she's the first to hear this sound that is coming from deep space. And it's a repeating sound. And at first they think it could be anything. They have a lot of theories, but then one of the scientists realized there is structure in this sound. That changes everything. In other words, it's intentional. It's not just an arbitrary sound. There's intention behind it. And somehow they're able then to take this sound that they're hearing from deep outer space, and then they're able to somehow unwrap it. And in doing so, they find the plans for this dimensional portal, which they use to travel through space. It's just like that. That's largely the experience that Helen had. She hears this sound, and I'm sure as she hears it, something moves within her, just as it moved within Jerry, and something is happening inside her, and she begins to then feel these words, which then she writes down for 7 years. Now we have the book. And according to Tamara, this is one of the reasons why, at least with the original Foundation book, she was very determined to make sure that it aligned. The way that it was put together was aligned with the sound that she heard. Isn't that fascinating? There is a peace that Christ bestows on us. And what can that peace be other than a sound that we feel? Maybe not hear with our human ears, but which we feel. When Tam told me this, I immediately related to it, because this is very much the experience that I have, say, when I was working on the material that I published as the Non-Dual Universe, or the original Art of Spiritual Peacemaking, now called the Yeshua Letters. Especially with the Yeshua Letters, because that came from an experience that I had at the Dead Sea, and the instructions that I was given was, whenever you want to bring one of these through, just get into hot water, a hot tub, a bathtub. And so I would do that. We had a hot tub in our backyard, so I would get into the hot tub, and at some point I would just feel this frequency. It's the only way I can describe it. And I would jump out of the tub, my computer was right there, and I would just start. And when Tam told me this about Helen, it made perfect sense. And it just kind of filled in the spaces, because as we know, sound was the original form of creation itself. We read, in the beginning there was the Word. In most of the Eastern traditions, the Om, which you can see right here in my neck, the Om was the original creative sound. In most spiritual traditions, creation comes from a sound. So is it any surprise that this would be the experience that Helen had, a sound that then ended up being translated into this extraordinary document, which she never really got. It wasn't like this was sitting inside of Helen and she somehow, just brought it through in this beautiful way. She had no background in any of this. She had everything to lose. If her academic friends found out that and not only that, but Bill was a much more famous psychologist. Wasn't he the co-editor of the journal on what do you call that when someone is off their rocker? Like all of you. The journal for off the rocker. I don't know.
Abnormal psychology, James.
Vicky will tell us in a moment. Vicky, what was that, Vicky?
It was the Journal for Abnormal Psychology.
That's it. The Journal for Abnormal Psych. And so these are not lightweights. These are people with great credentials and academic prowess. And here I love the idea that here is Bill in his office, co-editing this very prestigious, very technical journal. And then they would close the door, lock it, of course. Yeah. And Bill would say, "What did Jesus say last night?" And then start typing it. And she would read this shorthand, and then he would type it out. But it started with a sound that she heard. So Vicky, I'm going to go ahead and turn to you, because as far as I know, you've never heard this story before, because I had never heard it, and Tamara didn't even know it until she found this recording. So what do you think of all of this?
Oh, I think it's right on. I think I'm so happy. First, thank you, Brother James. Good morning, everybody. And thanks for this story. It's like hearing our family's old stories from maybe our ancestors or our parents. And it's so heartwarming because the sound of the story resonates to the sounds in our own hearts. That's why we're here. We heard a sound and it called to us, each in our own way, and we each recognized it. But, personally, once, many years ago, I had a dream. I used to call it the drum dream. And it was an experience of revelation or of unity, I would say. But all I could say was there was a drum, a sound that and everything was totally inclusive of. And every problem that anyone seemed to have kind of just disappeared and dissolved in the sound. And that drum dream has stayed with me. And it's not that it was a big, Indian drum or anything, but the only word I could use that fit my consciousness is a drum that had a sound that's like a heartbeat of God. And I do feel that is when we're in touch with our own Christed self, that center of who we really are. And whenever we do anything, it's because if we are doing anything that's inspired, I feel it's because we're hitting that pitch. And I think of it as a pitch that's more in the line of sound, not so much specifics. Say, like when you went, James, to Ukraine or went around doing the musical of St. Francis, the unknown is the best place for the sound to come through because you're not interfering with it coming through presently as some expression of the sound. And that sound, the best word I could have was that it was unity, that there was nothing else but beloved, celebratory, everything part of this unity, but it didn't translate as a picture. It translated to me as a sound. And that's often why I don't listen to music too, because I can sense that sound, and I bet many of us do. And that when you took whatever venture you, James, or any one of us take, I think it's because we're touching that sound. And sound is the best expression. It's abstract, but it's very personal. And we can sense it, we can feel it, and when we move from it, we know when we're off the mark or when we're on the mark. No different than doing a dance. It's really doing the dance of our soul, of our Christed soul. Anyway, and you know, I do feel like we're here to give the sounds of Christ that are ours to give. We are the treasure house here in time of that sound. That sound expresses through each of us in whatever opens our heart. And the thing that opens our heart most is the giving of it and then the joining that brings. Because as we give, of course, we're giving to everything, to all. There's no goal or outcome that it be for this special person or this special anything. And it's the giving that carries that sound, and then the receiving and the joining. Baraka has a saying. He says, oh gosh, I can't remember it. I don't see his thing, but grace is contact. Something about grace being contact. Because in the joining, the sound of that light in us is amplified and brought into direct experience for ourselves and each other. But I would sense, my sense of spirit also, I would say, is sound. And that dream must have been 40, 50 years ago. And I still refer to it because it was so authentic. It was, all I can say, it made that reality the only reality, and everything else in that moment, I got it. It didn't matter. Don't worry about it. Not that it's good or bad, not you have to do something or don't. Just don't worry about it. Just stay in tune with that sound. And that's really what I got on that. Thank you, Brother James. And thanks for singing that sound and speaking that sound, and for this story that elaborates on that sound. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Come into harmony with that sound. Harmonize. That's all grace does, is it harmonizes. There's nothing dissident about grace. It is in perfect harmony with the sound of creation. So that's why we love music, and we love to work with sound in different ways. So I'm going to invite Scott up now, since we are focused on sound and music. Let's see if our dear brother Scott is able to manifest that sacred sound in some, I'm sure he will, some beautiful, beautiful way. So come on up, Scott. Real tight, yeah. Ah. We are one in harmony, singing in celebration. We are one in harmony, singing the sound. God. Oh, yes. This tight back here. So, before we go, why don't we create that sound together, that primordial sound, the Om, which so many traditions say is where it all began, the sound of God. Let's do that together 3 times. Perfect harmony. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Puncho.
Ipuncho.
Adios.
Love you.
Love
Love you all.
See you tomorrow.
Gracias a Dios.
Many blessings, everybody.